There was a time when blacks were denied access to the nicer products sold in America, like clothes and even food. Store owners would provide subpar products that had a lasting and psychological impact. When blacks were finally able to shop at mainstream stores, they didn't skip a beat, even going for the nicer items, even if they couldn't afford it. Now take a look at this. This was a marketing tool for store owners back in 1954.
Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Do you wonder why? Well, listen to what this customer is thinking.
That last hat I bought just didn't hold up at all.
You see, for a long time, the Negro has been sold a lot of shoddy, second-class merchandise. So now he asks for name brands in order to make sure he gets his money's worth.
Kind of jarring, isn't it? Welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Many experts say the lingering effects of being treated like a second-class citizen in America for decades is still having a long-lasting impact on blacks today. How does that look? Spending more than you're saving, focusing on name brands to have that feeling of importance while impressing others instead of buying land, while building generational wealth. Some say the marketing tools used on blacks in 1954 is still working today. Do you agree? Our panel is here tonight to talk about it. Kim H., fashion and beauty guru, Todd Smith, CEO of Regal Media, and Dr. Diedrich von Biedenfeld, supply cycle and finance expert. Glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. Todd, when you look at that video, and you just have to stomach it because it was 1954. But when you think about what they were telling retailers to do for black customers, has that lingered on today?
I think it's lingered on, and I want to say this, there's nothing wrong with having quality products, because I think in the long run you end up saving money when you buy things that are a higher value. You buy cheaper things, they're cheaper for a reason. Carl Kanai once said you can't have quality for cheap. So you might end up spending money, more money, but the problem is, like the video says, and you said, we're buying things that we cannot afford to impress people that really don't even like us. And we all, a lot of us do it.
Or we don't like.
Oh, we don't like. There's a story about Debbie Allen being in the Galleria, I believe, one time, and they didn't know who she was. And she was at a high-end, maybe a Lalique store, whatever it may have been, and she left because they refused service or something like that. She said, I should go buy the most expensive thing in there. And then she had to catch herself. They don't want me in here. Why would I give them commission? So we have been beaten down, and it's a shame that other races look at us, they're taking advantage of us, because really they don't want us, but if you're going to spend your money, let's go get that black money. So if a brand doesn't want me, I'm not going to fight to give them my money. I'm going to shop. This is Dapper Dan, even though it's with the Gap, a black designer, the famous hip-hop designer from Harlem. I'll support who supports me, and I'm not quick to give my money to people who don't like me.
And one of the things they said in that video, and that video was pretty long, that was part 2, there's part 1, and one of the things that they indicated was, don't question the black buyer, because you will turn them away and they will go and spend their money elsewhere. And this was white psychological experts or psychologists to white retailers saying, don't turn them away, don't question them, take their money and run with it.
Right.
Your thoughts on this, Kim?
So my thoughts on that is they're still doing that today. billions of dollars are being put into advertising. And one of the things that I've noticed that over a period of time, I had an aunt that was a seamstress. She was a furrier for Neiman Marcus in the 60s and the 70s. And so, well, 70s and 80s for the most part. And she would look at a garment and turn it inside out, look at it and say, that's not your money's worth. But now, it's been dumbed down. People, because of fast fashion, the turnover is so high, this looks like that, or the fake market. People don't even recognize quality. So I think sometimes we think that the same thing that they sell at the factory outlets are the same things that the designers are selling in their high-end couture spaces, and you don't know that, and people don't know the difference because the market has been flooded. I think those things are still in play because you're wearing a label and not actually quality.
And I want to know, though, from you guys, Dr. Von Biedenfeld, I want to hear from you. We spend, as African Americans, $300 billion a year.
Yeah.
Are we still following this 1954 video or the effects of that 1954 video to our detriment as a community?
Absolutely, and I think both prior panelists have touched on this, and I agree with Todd. My mother, Patsy Ann, black woman in the 40s, pointed out to me, why are you keeping up with the Joneses when you'll never be a Rockefeller or Carnegie? And many times she, as an upper middle class, master degreed black woman, was told where bargain basement was when she would go into a store, which immediately would take her dollars elsewhere. So I think we recognize this, but we still have a lot of these traditions. We know these terms like Kleenex and Xerox. Well, we used to have the idea of the Cadillac of goods, but if we look at the market reliability of Cadillacs nowadays, maybe that isn't a great standard. Similarly with clothing and fashion, and what you're getting your money's worth when you turn it in and out and you say, well, you know, these seams don't match, or these patterns. So we are following this to our detriment because our credit scores aren't as good, and we've seen Latino spending power almost reach parity. That 1.5 trillion for the black community that's been here 400 years is very similar to the Latino community that, while many of these states were taken from their lands, are very similar. So I think we can see parallels in this, but the reality is we as a culture recognize the need to fit in, and where we get questioned less, so that business casual as a cheat code to stability and legitimacy.
All right, we're going to come back and talk to you guys in just a moment. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We continue our conversation about the long history behind black people's spending habits. So guys, when we take a look at it, when we take a look at the money makers in ethnic groups or raised here in America, number one, Indian, South Asian, number two, Asians, and number three, white, number four, Hispanic, number five, black. But the number two spending behind whites in America, black people. So, I mean, your thoughts on that?
We need to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to fit in. We need to come up to the standard. We need to show people that we matter. And I think it is the psychological effect of, you know, you are a second-class citizen. You have to sit in the back. So now, this is my time to shine. But I think it also is ancestral, because if you look at Africa and the garb and the regalia and the royalty, you know, there are a lot of times that we are a proud people, and so you want to look that and you want to exude that. So that's
but Todd, is that to your detriment, though, if you can't afford that?
If you can't afford
it definitely is, and I've been victim of that. You know what I mean? If somebody says, oh, this is limited edition, we were just talking about, oh, this is limited edition, I got to get it now, but I have bills to pay, that's not intelligent. I find myself falling into that trap too. But like you said, it's a thing about fitting in, but I don't think everybody falls into that category. I remember Deion Sanders saying something to the fact he wears jewelry during the games and or on magazine covers because he wants little black kids to know in the hood that you don't have to sell dope to get this. You don't have to be a rapper to get this. You can do what I do and have that. So a lot of people use that as motivation for the young kids to see, look, I did it the corporate route, and I have the same type of stuff that you see these drug dealers have, so you can do the same.
Okay, last 30 seconds. How can we break this cycle, if there's a cycle that needs to be broken?
One of it is accepting that there are quality goods that don't necessarily have to be name brand. Shopping locally, shopping in community brands, finding those couture dealers who are in the black and brown communities so the money circulates within that local community.
All right, and that's Kim. You'll see Kim
Yes,
for some good
and
products.
that's this.
Thank you guys
Yes.
for joining us.